My name is Tanya Smith. I'm 36, and the word that broke me wasn't a curse or a confession. It was everyone. The text came in at 2:47 p.m. on a Thursday, while I was still in steel-toed boots at a job site, my shirt dusted with gypsum and the kind of grit that sticks in your hair no matter how hard you scrub. Mom, Sunday dinner at 5. Your father is making his famous ribs. Everyone will be there. Please come. Everyone. I stared at it like it was written in a dialect designed to bruise. In my family, everyone is never neutral. It's a seating chart with a body count. In this case, everyone meant Tessa, my 29-year-old sister with champagne taste ambition and a talent for calling anything she wants a misunderstanding. And everyone meant Ryan, my ex-boyfriend, a man I once pictured building a life with, who learned to use my spare key like a punchline. I thumbed out a reply. Me, who's everyone? 3 dots appeared, disappeared, reappeared. Mom, just family, honey. Your father really wants to see you. It's been 3 months. Just family. Ryan wasn't family anymore, not after what happened. But my parents had always been gifted at rearranging reality until it looked polite from the street. I typed, erased, typed again. Me, is Tessa bringing anyone? Mom, why does that matter? It's just dinner. The breath I took tasted like drywall and old hurt. I slid the phone into my pocket and tried to go back to measuring joists. My hands wouldn't steady. The drill felt too light, my skin too loud. Let me back up. 6 months ago, I was happy, or the version of happy you take a photo of and post with a caption about gratitude. 10 years together, 8 of them, living like a married couple by every metric that matters. No kids yet, because Ryan wanted to stabilize first. I worked as a project manager for a mid-sized construction company, $82K a year, respectable, not glamorous. Ryan, a dental hygienist, $43K. We split bills proportionally. We had a 3-bedroom in the suburbs, 2 cars, and a dog named Cooper, who chose me with an intensity I didn't know how to deserve. Tessa moved back 8 months earlier when her startup's regional expansion turned into a slow-motion collapse. She stayed with our parents just while she reoriented. I did what older sisters do, made space. I invited her over for Wednesday dinners to make sure she ate something green. Sometimes Ryan would stay up with her watching movies while I finished reports in my office. I thought it was sweet. I thought I was lucky. Turns out I was naive. I found out the way everyone finds out eventually, by coming home early and walking directly into the truth. The foundation pour had been canceled because of rain, so I pulled into our driveway at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday and saw Tessa's car parked at a diagonal like it owned the place. 2 pairs of shoes by the door, hers and Ryan's, lined up like they were playing house. I didn't kick the bedroom door in or throw things or scream. I stood in the hallway listening to the sounds you don't come back from and felt something inside me blow out like a pilot light. Then I walked outside, sat in my truck, and called my lawyer. By the time they came downstairs, Tessa through the back door, Ryan with a cry-creased expression and a mouth full of apologies, I had already started ending us. How long? I asked him. He couldn't meet my eyes. 4 months, he said. 4 months. 16 Wednesday dinners. 16 times I opened my door to my sister and handed her my life. That night I called my parents. Mom cried, said she was heartbroken and shocked. Dad got quiet in that way he does when he's about to hand you a principal instead of help. These things are complicated, he said. People make mistakes. Mistakes are when you forget your keys, not when you betray your sister and the home she pays for. I told them I needed space. They heard, "We'll see you Sunday." Here's the part that makes people tilt their heads and ask if I'm serious. For 4 years, I'd been paying my parents' bills. It started after Dad's heart scare, not a heart attack, but the kind of episode that leaves pamphlets on the kitchen counter and new fear in the medicine cabinet. He asked if I could temporarily cover the mortgage until commission checks stabilized. I took over the house payment because I could, then the utilities because it was simpler that way, then added both of them to my car insurance because bundling saved money. And like all temporary arrangements in families like mine, it hardened into normal. On Saturday, 2 days after Mom's text, I did what I'd avoided for months. I actually looked. Mortgage to First National Bank, $1,247 monthly. Account holders: Robert and Patricia Smith, paid by Tanya Smith. Utilities: electric, water, gas, internet, another $487. Car insurance with 2 additional drivers, $312. $2,146. Every month, $31,752 a year for 4 years. $126,000 and change to keep the lights on at the house where we don't take sides. I had asked once in the second year if Dad felt ready to resume the mortgage. He sighed, like I'd asked him to donate an organ. You know, Tanya, he said, your mother and I sacrificed a lot raising you girls. Girls. As if Tessa and I were still teenagers with driver's ed schedules on the fridge. As if history was a tab I'd never be allowed to pay off. I stopped asking. I kept paying. I became dependable, the daughter who shows up, who makes space, who organizes the emergency, and then quietly funds it. Sunday came. I told myself I wasn't going, then found myself pulling into my parents' driveway at 4:52 p.m., out of muscle memory and morbid curiosity. Tessa's compact was already there, parked with entitlement. Ryan's Honda, the one I'd co-signed 3 years earlier when his credit was a bruise, sat right behind it. I gripped the steering wheel until my palms hurt. I could leave. I could text Mom that I was sick, but I needed to see it. Needed to watch them try to lacquer over rot and call it wood. I walked in without knocking. The house smelled like ribs and nostalgia. Fleetwood Mac floated from Mom's playlist, the kind of song that makes you forgive the wrong people for the wrong reasons. Tessa looked up first. Her face went pale, then arranged itself into something soft and sorry. Tanya, she said. Ryan was beside her, in the seat that used to be mine when we came over together. He whispered my name like it was a key he'd misplaced. I didn't answer. I was taking inventory. One empty chair left, at the far end. The kids' table chair. Mom emerged with coleslaw and a smile so bright it trembled. You came. Oh, sweetheart. She hugged me before I could decide whether to let her. I stood still and let her arms fall away. Dad followed, nodding like this was a board meeting. Good to see you, kiddo. We sat. Dishes moved in silence. The quiet was loud enough to press against your chest. Dad cleared his throat. I want to say something before we eat. He looked at each of us like a judge proving the room existed. We know things have been difficult, but your mother and I have decided we're not taking sides. We love both our daughters. And Ryan, well, he's been part of this family for years. That doesn't just vanish. We're going to support everyone and hope time heals things. Mom nodded, earnest and fragile. We just want peace. Is that okay, Tanya? Can we just have a nice dinner? They waited. Tessa stared at her plate. Ryan tried to look at me and failed. I cut into a rib, chewed, swallowed. Sure, I said, we can have a nice dinner. Mom's shoulders dropped in visible relief. Dad smiled like he'd negotiated a truce. Tessa's posture lifted a millimeter, and Ryan exhaled. I passed the green beans. I complimented the cornbread. I answered Dad's question about a site inspection like we were normal people in a normal family, and not actors in a play that had burned down 6 months earlier. What I didn't say, the mortgage draft hits Tuesday morning at 9:00 a.m. The utilities stagger across the week. Insurance renews next Monday. And every one of those payments still believes I'm the daughter who will set herself on fire to keep other people warm. 2 hours later, I made it to my truck before the shaking started. Not visible, not cinematic, just a low-frequency tremor under the ribs, the kind your body feels when the scaffolding finally shifts. At home, Cooper greeted me like I was the only plot that mattered. I changed, sat on my couch, and opened my laptop. First National Bank. Scheduled payments. There they were, reliable, hungry, automatic. Mortgage, cancel automatic payment? Yes. Electric, cancel? Yes. Water, gas, internet, cancel, cancel, cancel. Insurance. I called the agent. Remove Robert Smith and Patricia Smith from my policy, effective midnight. Are you sure? She asked. I'm sure. My new premium dropped to $87. The screen went quiet. So did I. I closed the laptop. I didn't pray for forgiveness or bargain with guilt. I petted my dog, turned off the lamp, and slept like someone who had finally remembered that peace is a boundary, not a reward. By Monday morning, the air in my apartment felt different, lighter, like a window had been cracked open somewhere inside my chest. No new messages, no calls, just silence, thick, expectant silence. But by Tuesday at 9:12 a.m., it began. Mom, honey, did the mortgage payment not go through? Maybe a bank error? Dad, the power company says our payment bounced. You should check your account. No punctuation, no apology, just panic disguised as politeness. I didn't respond. Because the truth was, nothing bounced. I'd just stopped catching what wasn't mine to hold. By Wednesday, the polite panic turned into something sharper. My phone buzzed 13 times in an hour. When I didn't answer, Dad left a voicemail that started calm and ended brittle. Tanya, this isn't funny. Your mother is beside herself. We've relied on you for years, and now you just... What? Stop? Without warning? What kind of daughter does that? The kind who's done being convenient, I thought. That evening, there was a knock on my door. I didn't need to check the peephole to know who it was. Tessa. She stood in the hallway, arms crossed, eyes already wet. Her voice wobbled between guilt and self-defense. Tanya, can we talk? Mom's losing it. Dad's... I don't know, he's furious. They said you canceled everything. I did. Her jaw dropped, like I'd just confessed to arson. Why would you do that? I tilted my head. Because I was the only one paying for a house that isn't mine. Her lip trembled. They need your help, Tanya. Dad's heart... Dad's fine. His heart's not the problem. His entitlement is. Her face hardened. Wow, you've really changed. I smiled, small, deliberate. No, I just stopped volunteering for martyrdom. Tessa blinked, clearly rehearsing a different outcome to this confrontation. You don't mean that. You're just angry. Look, if this is still about Ryan... That name. I laughed. The sound came out sharp and metallic. Still about Ryan? You mean the man who was sleeping with my sister under my roof while I paid for our parents' mortgage? Tanya, please. No, really, let's do the math. I stepped closer. 4 years of mortgage and bills, about $126,000. Divide that by 4 and tell me who really sacrificed for this family. She went silent. The quiet stretched so long that Cooper barked from inside like he could sense my heartbeat climbing. Tanya, she whispered finally, you're going to tear this family apart. I shook my head. No, I just stopped holding it together. Then I closed the door. By Thursday, the calls turned into begging. Mom, please, Tanya, just this month. We'll get things sorted next time. Dad, you're being cruel after everything we've done for you. That line, after everything we've done for you, landed like an old bruise pressed too hard. I almost replied, almost typed, you mean raising me? The thing parents are supposed to do? But instead, I turned my phone face down. Friday morning, an email arrived. Subject: Notice of non-payment. First National Bank. The house at 4782 Maple Drive, the one I grew up in, was now 15 days past due. At the bottom of the message, the bank politely listed the consequences: late fees, potential foreclosure, the usual bureaucratic suffocation. I stared at it for a moment, then forwarded it to Dad with a single line. Not my problem anymore, Tanya. Then I closed my laptop and took Cooper for a walk. The sky was heavy with spring rain, the kind that makes everything smell like a clean start. Saturday afternoon, while I was restocking paint samples at a hardware store, I heard my name. Tanya? I turned. Ryan. He looked smaller somehow, like guilt had taken up residence in his posture. He gave a hesitant smile. Hey, been a while. Not long enough, I said. He exhaled, nervous. I talked to your mom. She's scared. They said you canceled all their payments. I did. He winced. Tanya, come on, they depend on you. They're older. Your dad's got that heart thing. That heart thing was 4 years ago. He's fine. They can pay their own bills. You're serious. I've never been more serious. He rubbed the back of his neck. You're not the same person I knew. Good. I tilted my head. The person you knew let people use her until there was nothing left. She's gone. He blinked, searching for the right guilt trip. You used to be kind. I met his eyes. I used to be convenient. There's a difference. Then I walked away. That night, the silence felt different again. Not light this time, but solid. Anchoring. I sat on my couch, Cooper's head in my lap, a cup of tea in my hand instead of whiskey. My phone lit up once more, Mom. 9:34 p.m. Tanya, please. We're going to lose the house. I stared at the message until the screen dimmed and my reflection stared back. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel responsible for fixing it. I just felt free. By Monday morning, my phone was a war zone. 37 unread texts, 12 missed calls, 3 voicemails. The first was from Mom, her voice tight with forced calm. Tanya, sweetheart, the mortgage company called again. It must be some mix-up. Please just call them, okay? We can fix this together. The second was Dad, brittle and defensive. You're making your mother sick with worry. This isn't right, Tanya. Family helps family. The third was shorter, meaner. You've gone too far. No name, but I knew that voice. Tessa. By Tuesday afternoon, the entire extended family had been mobilized like troops. Uncle Ray left a voicemail about how you don't turn your back on blood over money. Grandma Elsie, 83, and still ruling by guilt, called me by my full name. Tanya Marie Smith, I don't know what's gotten into you, but your parents are beside themselves. You call them right now. I deleted them all without listening twice. Because that's the thing about family narratives, they travel faster than truth. Somewhere between those calls, Dad had rewritten the story. In his version, I was the cold daughter who'd abandoned them over a misunderstanding, not the woman who'd paid over $126,000 to keep their roof from collapsing while they played neutral about my sister sleeping with my boyfriend. Wednesday, while I was reviewing blueprints at work, the call finally came through. Dad, I answered, not out of curiosity, but because I wanted to hear which version of me he was talking to today. Dad? Tanya, what the hell is going on? The electric company just sent a shut-off notice. The mortgage is late. Do you have any idea what this is doing to your mother? I do, I said quietly. It's called reality. This isn't a joke, he snapped. We need those payments. Then pay them. You know we can't afford that. You make $60,000 a year, I said. The mortgage is $1,800. You can afford it. You just don't want to rearrange your life to make it work. It's not that simple. We've got your mother's medications, car maintenance, repairs. So sell the house. Silence. You're being ridiculous, he said finally. After everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us? I almost laughed. You mean raising me? The thing you chose to do when you became parents? Don't get smart with me. I'm not being smart, Dad. I'm being honest. You made me believe I owed you for existing, and I paid 4 years of it, but I'm done now. This is about Sunday dinner, isn't it? You're punishing us because we didn't kick Tessa out. No, I'm done paying because I finally realized what love isn't. It isn't debt, it isn't silence, and it sure as hell isn't neutrality. Neutrality? He repeated, voice rising. When someone hurts your kid and you say you're not taking sides, that is a side. He exhaled, heavy and sharp. So you're just going to abandon us? Let us lose the house? You're not losing the house. You're losing the free ride. This stress could kill me, he said dramatically. Do you want that on your conscience? No, Dad, I said. But maybe you should worry about your own heart for once, because I'm done being yours. And I hung up. Thursday came with new tactics, pity mixed with performance. Mom texted me a photo of the house. The caption, "Your father's garden is dying because we can't afford the water bill." I stared at the image, wilted roses under gray sky, and realized what it was. A prop, a guilt weapon. Because they didn't want help. They wanted control disguised as need. Friday night, I was at my kitchen counter, cutting vegetables for dinner, when I heard the knock. Slow, deliberate, the kind of rhythm that carries a grudge. I looked through the peephole. Tessa, again. This time, she didn't wait to be invited in. She pushed her way through as soon as I opened the door. I can't believe you, she started. They're losing the house, Tanya. They have 60 days before the bank takes it. You're just going to sit here and watch that happen? I'm not watching anything, I said. I stopped participating. They can't afford it without you. Then they'll have to figure it out. Her voice cracked. You don't mean that. I do. This is because of me, isn't it? She said quietly. Because of what happened with Ryan. I tilted my head, smiling without warmth. You think everything's about you. But no, Tessa. This is about 4 years of me carrying everyone else's mess and calling it love. She flinched. You're cruel. I'm free. Her eyes shone with tears she wanted me to fix. I didn't. You'll regret this, she whispered. Maybe, I said, but at least it'll be my regret, not yours. I opened the door again, this time for her to leave. When she was gone, I locked it and stood there for a moment, feeling my pulse slow back to normal. By Saturday, I'd become the family villain in full. My cousin Jennifer messaged, Hey, I heard what's going on. Just remember, family is forever. Uncle Ray. You'll regret burning bridges, kid. Blood's thicker than money. Grandma. If your mother ends up in the hospital, I hope you can live with yourself. I muted them all. Because the thing nobody tells you about setting boundaries is how loud the silence gets afterward, how desperate people become when their favorite puppet cuts its own strings. That night, as I sat on my balcony with Cooper curled at my feet, my phone buzzed once more. A new number. Unknown. Tanya, it's Mom. Please, can we meet for coffee? Just you and me, no one else. Please. I read it twice. Every instinct said no. Every scar said don't go. But there was one tiny part of me, a foolish, stubborn fragment of hope, that whispered, what if she finally gets it? So I typed back, me, tomorrow, Bean and Brew, 2 p.m. Then I set the phone down, exhaled, and whispered to Cooper, "Tomorrow decides everything." He wagged his tail like he understood. And maybe he did. The next day was humid, the kind of sticky warmth that makes the world feel slightly out of focus. I got to Bean and Brew 5 minutes early, hoping to control the scene before it controlled me. Mom was already there. Corner table, 2 coffees on the tray. She'd ordered mine black with 2 sugars, the way I used to drink it at 16. I hadn't touched sugar in years. "Tanya!" She stood, smiling too wide. The smile of someone trying to disarm a landmine with small talk. I stayed standing. She gestured to the chair. "Sit, sweetheart, please." I sat, but I didn't touch the cup. For a long moment, she just studied me. Her eyes looked tired, lined. She wore that same perfume, floral, nostalgic, manipulative. Finally, she spoke. "Your father doesn't know I'm here. He'd be furious if he did." "Okay," I said flatly. She swallowed. "We're losing everything, Tanya. The house, the garden, your father's pride. He hasn't slept in weeks." I stirred the coffee once, even though I wasn't drinking it. "That sounds hard." Her eyes darted to mine, searching for softness. "I know you're angry. I know we handled things badly. But this isn't about that anymore. This is about survival." I tilted my head. "Whose survival? Yours or mine?" She blinked, thrown. "What?" "For 4 years, I paid your mortgage, your utilities, your insurance, over $2,600 every month. That's more than $126,000 total. Do you know what I could have done with that money?" "Tanya, I could have bought a house of my own, taken a trip, built savings. But instead, I gave it to you, and you never once said thank you." She looked down, her voice small. "We didn't expect it." "Yes, you did, because when I stopped, you called it cruelty. When I stopped, you sent the entire family after me. You don't miss my help, Mom. You miss control." Her lip trembled. "We're desperate. We're going to lose the home we raised you girls in. All our memories are there." "And I'm supposed to sacrifice my future to protect your memories?" She pressed her hands together, shaking. "I'm asking you to help your parents." "No," I said quietly. "You're asking me to enable you. That's different." Her eyes filled with tears. "What happened to you? You used to be so kind, Tanya. So generous." "I used to be convenient," I said. "You mistook that for kindness." She winced, like the words hit harder than I meant them to. Maybe they did. "Tell me something," I continued. "When's the last time you asked how I was doing? After the breakup? After the betrayal? After I lost the man I loved and the sister I trusted?" She stayed silent. "You didn't," I said, "because that would mean taking a side. And you don't take sides, right? You just want everyone to pretend it's fine." I was trying to keep the family together. "There is no family, Mom. Tessa destroyed that. Ryan destroyed that. And you and Dad destroyed what was left when you invited them to dinner and asked me to smile through it. So that's it? You're just done with us?" "I'm done being treated like an ATM with a pulse." Her voice cracked. "I don't even know who you are anymore." I met her eyes. "I'm the same person I've always been. You just never looked close enough to notice." I stood. The untouched coffee sat there, cooling fast. "Wait," she said, rising. "Please, just tell me what we can do to fix this, to make it right." I looked at her, really looked. This woman who'd raised me, who I'd spent decades trying to please. "You can't fix this," I said, "because you don't think anything's broken. You think I am." "Tanya, if you want to fix something, start by taking responsibility. Sell the house, downsize, do what everyone else does when they can't afford their life. Adjust." "And what about us?" she asked softly. "Our relationship?" "I don't know," I said. "I really don't." Then I walked out of the coffee shop without looking back. 2 weeks later, I drove past 4782 Maple Drive on my way to a job site. I didn't plan to. The GPS just led me that way. The lawn was overgrown. The shutters were chipped. And there it was, a bright red for sale sign planted in the yard like a flag of surrender. I pulled over, staring at the house that had once been everything. Birthdays, Christmas mornings, arguments about curfews, the smell of ribs on Sundays. The house I'd paid for but never owned. I waited for the guilt to come. The sadness, the ache that always used to make me cave. Nothing came. Just quiet, real quiet. The kind that doesn't beg for forgiveness. The kind that sounds like peace. I pulled out my phone, took a photo of the sign, not to post, not to send, just to remind myself that it really happened, that I'd actually done it, that I'd finally walked away. Then I put the truck in drive and kept moving. Because sometimes peace isn't found in rebuilding what's broken. It's found in refusing to pick up the pieces. 6 months later, my life didn't just look different, it felt different. I'd been promoted to operations director, a title that sounded heavier than it felt. 95,000 a year, company truck, 12 people reporting to me. Respect, stability, silence, the kind that doesn't hurt. I'd moved into a bigger apartment, a place with real sunlight, a balcony where Cooper could stretch, and enough space for me to breathe without counting bills in someone else's name. And there was Daniel. We'd met on site. He was a civil engineer from another firm, practical, grounded, and refreshingly uninterested in chaos. On our third date, he said something that stuck. Peace isn't boring, Tanya. It's proof you survived the storm. He had a point. He also had an ex, Melissa, who still liked his old posts once in a while, just enough to be noticed, not enough to be relevant. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel the need to compete, because I finally knew what safety looked like when it wasn't performative. One Saturday morning, we were at the grocery store, just a mundane, domestic errand that used to feel impossible. Daniel went off to grab produce while I compared coffee brands. That's when I heard it, a voice I hadn't heard in months. Tanya? I turned. Mom. She stood by the oranges, holding a half-full cart. Her coat looked worn, her hair shorter, her smile thinner. I froze. Hi, Mom. You look good, she said softly. Really good. Thanks. Then, before I could retreat, Dad appeared from the next aisle, holding a jar of off-brand pasta sauce. Tanya, he said, stopping dead. The air between us thickened. Awkward. Too full of everything we hadn't said. I nodded. Dad. Mom clutched the cart. We've been meaning to reach out, she began. It's just complicated. I'm sure it is. We're doing okay now, she said quickly, too brightly. Settled into our new place. I'd heard through cousins they'd sold the Maple Drive house and moved into an 800-square-foot apartment across town. 1 bedroom. Small. Manageable. That's good, I said. I'm glad you're managing. Dad shifted his weight, clearing his throat. We've been talking a lot about what happened. Have you? He nodded. We realize we didn't handle things right. We should have taken your side more. Mom's eyes glistened. Your father's right. We just wanted peace. But in trying to keep everyone together, we pushed you away. It was the first time I'd ever heard her say it out loud. I exhaled slowly. You did. Mom stepped closer, tentative. Maybe we could have coffee sometime? Just talk? I looked at her hand, resting on my sleeve. It was lighter than I remembered, almost fragile. I don't think so, Mom, I said gently. Her lips trembled. Tanya, please, it's been 6 months. We're trying. Trying what? I asked. To make things right or to make things quiet again? She blinked. To understand. To do better. Dad took a step closer. Then tell us what we need to do. We'll do it. I studied him, this man who had called me cruel, who'd turned the family against me, who had once said neutrality was love. You can start, I said, by accepting that this is how things are now. I'm not your safety net anymore. I'm not the daughter who fixes everything. I'm just a person living her own life. Mom swallowed. But we're family. Are we? I asked quietly. Because family isn't supposed to demand sacrifice as proof of love. It's supposed to stand beside you when you're hurt, not invite your betrayers to dinner and call it peace. Neither of them spoke. I don't hate you, I said finally. I'm not punishing you. I'm just done carrying weight that isn't mine. Mom's tears spilled. So that's it? We just never see you again? I don't know, I admitted. Maybe someday, when you can acknowledge what really happened, when responsibility replaces guilt. I reached for my cart, but not now. I started to walk away when Dad called out, his voice softer than I'd ever heard it. Tanya. I turned. I'm sorry, he said, for what it's worth. I looked at him, the slumped shoulders, the gray in his hair, the humility that came too late, but not too little. It's worth something, I said, just not enough yet. And I walked away. When I got home, Daniel was on the couch with Cooper curled at his feet, flipping through takeout menus. You okay? He asked when he saw my face. I ran into my parents, I said. He nodded slowly. How was it? Strange, I admitted, but calm. He smiled. That's growth. We cooked dinner, pasta from a box, sauce from a jar, garlic bread from the freezer. It wasn't fancy, but it tasted like peace. Afterward, we sat on the balcony, city lights stretching out beneath us. Cooper sighed, content. I looked at Daniel. You ever realize that letting go isn't cruel? He tilted his head. What do you mean? It just means choosing peace over pain, boundaries over burning. He squeezed my hand. Then you finally did it. I smiled. Yeah, I did. Later that night, when he'd fallen asleep and Cooper was curled at my feet, I stepped onto the balcony again. The air was cool. The city hummed softly. I thought about the house on Maple Drive. The ribs, the silence, the mortgage payments, the coffee cup I never drank, the for sale sign, the apology in the grocery aisle. And I realized something simple, something freeing. The opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. And standing there, in my apartment, in the quiet life I'd built for myself, I felt completely, peacefully indifferent. They'd figure things out, or they wouldn't. Tessa would grow up, or she wouldn't. Ryan would find happiness, or repeat history. None of it had anything to do with me anymore. I went back inside, locked the door, and climbed into bed. Cooper sighed against my legs. Daniel's breathing was slow and steady. For the first time in years, the only weight I carried was my own. And it was finally, beautifully enough.